Good evening. Welcome to the Wesley Institute Course Information webinar. It's lovely to have you with us, and thank you for giving us your precious time tonight. Tonight we have a panelist from the Education Board at Wesley Institute, and they can answer your questions, and they'll also be presenting information on the Grad dip. So for now, please sit back and relax. You can also ask questions if you have any in the panel, but otherwise I'm going to now hand it over to Julie Matthews, the Head of School of Education at Wesley Institute.
Hi everybody, welcome to our webinar for the final intake of the Grad to begin on the 20th of October. I'd like to introduce you to the other two panellists. I'm Julie, I'm the Head of Education. I'd like to introduce you to Marion. Marion is our Teacher Education Manager. She looks after professional experience, which she will talk about in a short while. I'd also like to introduce you to Will Gardner, who is also the Assistant Head of School. Will looks after all our units of work, our lecturers and students when they have questions about all our theoretical units. So now I would like to present to you an outline of the Grad Dip Ed. So here we go. Okay, welcome to a talk on the Graduate Diploma of Education for our intake in October 2014. Okay, just to get you going, I'd just like to give you a recommendation from one of the students who participated in our courses in the last few years. It's very much a Christian-oriented course, so we don't expect you to necessarily be a Christian if you want to enter our course, but we just want you to know that it is a Christian organisation with a Christian-based course. Our Grad Dip Ed Secondary is to be completed over 3 semesters between October 2014 and November 2015. If you are doing the Grad Dip Ed, you will either be completing 9 or 11 units, which include 2 professional experiences in 2 different schools, and Marion will explain that shortly. If you are to begin on the 20th of October, we will have a summer, what we're calling a summer semester. It will go through till the 20th of January 2015. You will only be doing 3 units during that time, and those 3 units will be these particular foundational units. We are offering these units so that you can begin before the Grad Dip Ed officially ceases to exist, but we have a teach-out year next year so that you can complete it. So those will be the 3 units that will be offered. The minimum number of units you can do during the summer semester will be 2, the maximum 3. Following that, there will be a compulsory 3-day preparation for teaching on campus at Wesley Institute between the 2nd and the 4th of February. Also, if you enrol for teaching design and technology, you will need to spend 2 days at D&T workshops on the 5th and 6th of February. If you are unable to make these dates, please don't enrol. The second semester will begin on February the 9th and go through to June the 12th, 2015. Here is a suggested program that you would undergo. Now, foundations of teaching and learning and your first curriculum methods are essential to be able to do your professional experience during next semester in February to June. If you don't do those units, you will be unable to do professional experience, and you will be unable to complete the program by November. So just remember, you are really in a very tight situation to be able to complete the program. Foundations of Teaching and Learning is a foundational course which gives you some of the outlines of what it is to be a teacher in a secondary school. The professional experience takes place in a school, which Marion will explain later. Curriculum Method 1 for major area and Curriculum Method 1 for minor area I will explain a little further later on. The last semester is from July the 6th to November the 13th, 2015. During that time, you can complete Teaching Biblical Studies, Professional Experience 2, which is 25 days, and the second part of each of your curriculum methods. That will conclude the program, and you will finish by the middle of November, ready to go out to teach. Just another little recommendation from one of our students. The preparation for teaching that I was talking about is an on-campus 3-day course. As you can see, it's a time when you actually attend lectures. For you starters in October, it will be at Wesley Institute campus, which is in Drummoyne in Sydney, and it will be from the 2nd to the 4th of February, and the D&T workshops take place at St Andrew's Cathedral School on the 5th and 6th of February. During preparation for teaching, you do numerous things. As you can see, there's a lot of interaction happening here, and these are the sort of things that occur during this time. We do workshops for Foundations of Teaching and Learning, that is, how to teach. You meet and work with your fellow students. We have workshops in classroom management, classroom pedagogy, and professionalism. We do lesson planning workshops. We do essential child protection workshops, literacy workshops, and you gain a vast amount of information on professional experience. These are 3 days where you get to know really what Wesley's all about. Now, to be eligible for admission to the Grad Dip-Ed, you need to be able to teach 2 subjects or 1 subject. If you are going to teach 2 subjects, you need a bachelor's degree with 3 years of study of 1 teaching subject. That is your main teaching method. For example, you would need 3 years of study in English to be an English teacher, or what is equivalent to 6 units of study. You are allowed 2 units of first year and 4 units at second or third year level. If you have a second teaching method, you have to have at least 2 years of study in another subject. For example, modern history. You would need at least 2 units in first year method, or in first year modern history, and 2 years in second year. You are, however, permitted to do just 1 teaching subject, and for that you would need a bachelor's degree with 3 years of study in that 1 teaching subject area. So if I were to go back and to explain to you that Curriculum Method 1 for your major teaching area or your minor teacher area assists you in being able to teach Years 7 to 2. Curriculum Method 2 assists you in being able to teach Years 11 and 12. So you need both curriculum method units to qualify. If you only have 1 teaching subject, you will have 9 units to complete by November next year. If you have 2 teaching subjects, you will therefore have 11 units to complete. The applications for admission close on October the 7th, 2014, and we will be unable to take any applications after that due to the fact that we are beginning on October the 20th, and we will not have time to process anything that comes in after October the 7th. To be able to apply, you need to go to Apply Now on our website page, our first front page, the fifth heading on the breadcrumb trail on the web page, and follow the directions. To download an application, fill it in, and send with the accompanying documents. One of the big things you may be asking is, well, do I have one teaching method or two? Let me explain that you are far more employable if you have two teaching methods. The Institute of Teachers, which has now become called BOSTES, recommends very strongly that you have two teaching methods. One teaching method limits the number of subjects you can teach, limits the number of areas that you can get employment. And employment is what you are looking for. So you are far more employable with two teaching subjects. However, you are permitted to do one. Tom Wong, our IT coordinator, who is hosting this webinar tonight and will be talking in a few minutes with the question time, he will be holding a webinar on Thursday, the 16th of October at 8 a.m. to enable you to begin your course smoothly. You will need to enrol for that webinar. The webinar will include the following: an introduction to Moodle and Turnitin, and access to the units that you will be studying, those 3 units that I talked about originally, the uploading of assignments, and the use of forums on the online platform, our Moodle platform. All our units, except for professional experience, are online. You only have to attend face-to-face those 3 days of preparation for teaching, and if you are doing design and technology, those 2 extra days of workshops. That is the only time when you officially have to turn up at Wesley Institute. The rest is online, plus your 2 practical professional experiences in 2 different schools. One more recommendation of our courses. Now, I'm sure that you will have many questions to ask, and after Marion and Will have finished their presentations, you will have that opportunity to be able to ask. I will now hand over to Will, who will give you his presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, students. If you've just joined us for our online webinar, a warm welcome to you. If you've missed the first part of this webinar with our head of school, Julie, this will be recorded and we will put it up online for you to view at a later date. For now, our assistant head of school, Will Gardner, will be now presenting his session.
Thanks very much, Tom. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I'd just like to take you through some of the units online so that you get a bit of a feel. What would it be like when I'm at home and I log on? The first screen I'm showing you here is the education homepage. This is a central page where we have a lot of the resources that you will need throughout the semester. And so if I just scroll down, apart from the photos there of our last intake, you'll see that there's information that relates to things like the workshops, course introduction, which Julie has been talking to you about in February, contacts in the education faculty, and then semester resources. That's where you'll find things like the semester schedules, the links to the bookshop for all your texts, extension forms for extenuating circumstances, teaching resources, and there's a great range of those available, including a major one there, which is Scootle, which has hundreds of thousands of teaching resources that you can access according to your subject area. For those that might not have a Christian perspective or a background, there are some resources there so that they can become familiar with that. We run a study skills workshop on campus for those who are in Sydney or nearby. We put those online as well for those people who are across Australia and even perhaps overseas. Marion will be talking to you about professional experience. But we also have across Australia, all the employment sectors in teaching, both public and private, they're all hot links, every one of them, through to their jobs pages, and that will be very handy as you get partway through your grad dip. And then also to the registration authorities for your professional accreditation. So that's a very handy central page for you. Now let me show you Foundations of Teaching and Learning, which is one of the compulsory units that you'll have to do. I'll show you this one. I'll also show you Curriculum Method 1 and Curriculum Method 2, and you'll see that all the units look identical. And this is so that you become familiar with the layout, try to avoid confusion, and that way hopefully you can just concentrate on your work and do it well. This one here, for example, just shows you the lecturers in this particular unit. There's a unit forum where you can discuss with fellow students. And then the weeks are divided up as you go through your study guide, chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you'll see you can upload Assessment 1 at the end of this week. Assessment 2, as you scroll down, you upload that there, and Assessment 3, you upload that down here in the 29th of September in this particular course. So if that's the way the Foundations looks, let's look at Curriculum Method 1. I've just chosen Mathematics Method 1 as an example, and you'll see exactly the same structure. Here are the lecturers, a unit forum where you can chat with your fellow students, and then chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then the upload for Assessment 1, 2, and 3. Now that's a Method 1 unit. Let's go to a Method 2 unit, and here is biology, and again the lecturer, the unit forum, and then the weeks. So once you get familiar with one unit, you're actually familiar with the total structure. And as I say, I think that really helps you then concentrate on your work. Now, I think it's very important that you engage your fellow students and your lecturers, and I'd like to show you just very quickly that you aren't alone, even though it might be at night or perhaps during the day when you're working. So where you see your lecturers, you are able to click on their name, and it'll take you through to their profile, and at the bottom of their profile you can see here, send a message. Now that's terrific. That means you have direct contact with your lecturer. That goes through to their email, and they should reply to you. We allow, say, 2 days for people to reply. I mentioned the unit forum. That's where you can talk with fellow students. If I very quickly click on this one, you can see here where people have posted questions and various comments, just generally that everyone can enjoy. It may be a general question about one of the questions that you're struggling with, that you'd like to share that doubt with everyone. So when we come down to week 3, one of the accessible items is called a discussion forum, and there's one of these in each unit. If I click on this one, you can see that the students have seen a movie. They've got 3 questions that they have to post their responses to, and then they also have to reply to 2 other students. So these students have done that as part of their assessment in this particular semester in this unit. So that discussion forum is in every unit, and that way you're actually engaging the learning community and feeling perhaps not quite alone. So I hope that gives you a feeling there. We've got the education homepage, and then we've got the units, the foundational ones, curriculum method 1s, curriculum method 2s. Thanks very much, Tom.
Thank you, Will. Again, if you've just joined us for this webinar, a warm welcome to you. Just to emphasize again, what Will was showing was the course as it stands, and as we will note, it's all completely online. There are no on-campus requirements except for the course introduction, which will be compulsory and which you have to attend at the start of next year. But right now, I'm going to hand over to Marion Poynton. She is the Manager of Professional Experiences at the Institute, and she will walk us through some of the interesting things that happen on professional experience, but also the requirements and the inner workings of what happens there. So I'm going to hand it over to Marion right now.
Thanks, Tom, and welcome everyone to this little session on professional experience. I'm just going to explain what professional experience it is and when it takes place, and a little bit about how it's supervised. So we run our professional experiences as structured experiences in the classroom, so you're actually in the school, in at least 2 different schools throughout the course. It's a time when you can gather all the information you've been learning in your units and put it together into the practice of actually teaching in a classroom. So that involves planning and preparing your lessons and then delivering them. It also gives you an opportunity to evaluate and learn to be self-reflective around your practice. We put you into situations where you're supervised and guided by qualified practicing teachers, and we also have tertiary supervisors that look after you. Our professional experiences can take place within a variety of different types of schools. They can be state schools, independent schools, Christian schools, and they can also be, in the country, in the outback, or in the urban location. You're able to nominate the schools that you'd like to go to, and as far as possible we try and get you into that vicinity. The dates for our professional experience next year will be around about the 20th or 27th of April through to the 16th of May, and then again there's a 3-week block in August to September with another 2 weeks in October. Our pracs are supervised by our supervising teacher in this school who acts as a mentor and a supervisor for you. They report on your progress, they report to you and also to our tertiary supervisors. Our tertiary supervisors oversee our professional experience. They come and visit our students to support you and give you feedback, and they are a point of contact between the supervising teacher and Wesley Institute, and they also act as additional mentors throughout the prac. Our pracs are created so that we increase the teaching load throughout the course. So we start off with 3 days of observations, and then we gradually introduce you to teaching 1 lesson a day until the end of the course. On your final prac, you'll be you would have increased your teaching load to almost a full-time load, and that's we've structured it in that way so that by the end of your degree, when you're ready to enter the profession, you'll know what it's like to be teaching that full-time load. So I'll leave it at that, and if there's some questions, we can take those questions in a moment. I'll just hand back to Tom. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. So that was just a presentation from Julie Matthews, Will Gardner, Marion Poynton's staff of the Education Faculty at Wesley Institute. We're now going to have a time of questions and answers, and we're just going to continue on with that. We've got a whole list of questions here, which is great to see, and as much as possible, Julie, Will, and Marion will try to answer them. I've got a question here, a couple of questions actually, people asking basically the same thing. Is it possible to complete this course part-time, i.e. complete by the end of 2016?
You have to complete the course by the end of 2015. The Grad Dip Ed ceases at the end of 2015. There is no choice. If you do not complete, you will have to move into the Master of Teaching Secondary, and it has, depending on 16 units compared to the 9 or 11 that the Grad Dip Ed has.
When we interview them over the phone, we'll be asking them, have they counted the cost in terms of time and commitment to ensure that they do complete by the end of 2015. It's not about adding on the grad dip to their lifestyle, it's about adjusting their lifestyle to make sure it works for them.
Correct. Thank you, Will.
Fantastic. We've got another question here, basically asking about their bachelor's degree in X, and how do they find out what they're qualified to take in terms of methodologies? Who is responsible for that process, and who gets to decide whether or not their degree can allow for 2 curriculum methods or 1 curriculum method?
Well, we do that. They will need to submit their application form with their transcript. They can go to BOSTES website, New South Wales BOSTES, and look at Initial Teacher Education, and it has a particular PDF for secondary teachers for qualifications. It will tell you what you need in your degree to qualify for certain subjects. You still may be unsure having read that, so you just apply, send your transcript in with your application, and we will let you know when we interview you what you are able.
So I have another question from a student for Marion regarding professional experience. The question is it possible to undertake the placements in a school outside of Australia if it's not possible to be in the country during these periods due to, for example, family commitments?
If a student's living outside of Australia, there is on occasion an opportunity to undertake 1 prac next year only outside of Australia, but it would have to be discussed and negotiated, because I'm not sure what country it would be. It's preferable to do your professional experience in Australia, but it's something we could perhaps have a discussion about.
Just to add to that, it has to be the second prac. We have to be able to know that you are competent in your teaching skills before we allow a prac like that anywhere else. So you would have to do your first prac in April, May in Australia.
Thank you, Julie and Marion. This is a question perhaps for Will. Will, we have several students asking what is the expected time commitment for each unit, and is this a 2-semester course?
Right, it's between 8 to 10 hours a week. Some people will be faster readers and doers than others, but I think you should allow 8 to 10 hours.
Per unit, Will?
Per unit,
per
that's
unit?
Correct. That's right, because when you add that time through, then you're looking at, say, 40 hours for the week. So 8 to 10 hours, and the semester is 3 semesters. So you'll have 20th of October through to 20th of January, and then you'll have the 9th of February through to the end of November, so 2 semesters next year.
I just wanted to say that it has to be 3 semesters this time, because we cannot offer professional experience except when schools are open, and they're not open for the time over the summer break when they can take students. So you have to do a professional experience 1 in the first semester next year, and professional experience 2 in the final semester.
If I could say something about professional experience, when our professional experience has been run, all other courses or all your other units are on hold. So there's no other assessment tasks due. You're not doing any other study, you're just doing your professional experience.
Thank you. If you've just joined us on the webinar, we're just currently on Q&A time. Please keep those questions coming through. I've got another question here from a student who asks, will I be disadvantaged having a Dip Ed instead of a Master's?
No, there are thousands of people with a Grad Dip Ed out there at the moment. It'll take about 15 years before a Master's may become mandatory, but there's no indication at the moment that that will happen.
Great, thank you. Will, perhaps a question for you. I have a few questions from a couple of students. Are economics and legal studies available as curriculum methods at Wesley Institute?
No, they're not. We only have the business studies method, but we do suggest that you go to another institution, and you can do a cross-institutional method. This works, some people will already know about this, that you can go to another institution and you get admitted as a non-award student to do 1 or 2 units there. I think the maximum is 2 units we allow at another institution. Is that right, Julie?
Well, they could do 2 curriculum methods at another institution, correct, yes.
Yes, yep. So you do your economics, say, it could be, you know, at CSU or Deakin or somewhere like that, and then do the rest of the grad dip with us. So it's just a cross-institutional study. We would have a couple of students, say, doing visual arts somewhere else, and doing the rest of their grad dip with us.
Fantastic. Well, I've got a student here who's just wondering how to integrate their faith into their teaching and just seeing what requirements are. The question is, I am about to complete a Grad Dip Ed secondary at another university at the end of the year. I would like to integrate my faith into my teaching and pick up religious education as another minor teaching subject. Am I eligible for, and are the following programs you offer suitable? The Master of Arts, or the Grad Dip of Arts, or Grad Cert in Arts with Religious Education?
Any of those, yes. We don't have a grad cert in religious education. Oh, yes, we do. Sorry, I apologise. I thought it was just a cert. Yes, any of those. It would be a great idea if you rang us and had a chat through with that. The Master of Arts Religious Education covers is the full course. You could do a grad cert in 18 months and a grad dip in 2 years, and then the Master of Arts in 3 years. So please give us a call and talk to us about that.
Thank you, Julie. Another question here. I have a bachelor's in teaching primary and a bachelor's in arts, and I'm currently working in a government primary school as a casual relief teacher. Since I don't have 3 years in any one subject area, do I assume that I am ineligible for this secondary course?
Yes, that's correct. You do have to have a major subject to be eligible to Grad Dip Ed, but they can ring and talk to us a little bit more if they've got any more questions.
Would it be right to add that some students may need to, depending on how it goes with the Board of Studies subject content requirement in their undergraduate degree, that if they fall short by 1 unit in terms of numbers, they may do that unit concurrently with the grad dip?
They're only permitted to do 2 units concurrently with the grad dip. So they'd have to have at least 4 units in their undergrad degree.
Thank you. Some students here with questions about credits. They're asking, can I get my subjects that I've already completed as advanced standing, or I guess in other words as credit?
That will depend on whether they are aligned with our subjects. You would have to apply for that and verify that your subjects that you have completed match with ours. Getting credit and RPL these days is far more difficult than it ever has been because of the demands of the university bodies, not just Wesley Institute. It's across the board.
Thank you, Julie. And just on that, who should potential students contact if they have questions about credit or checking to see if subjects they've studied at other places would be eligible?
Well, we would be the people to contact, but we cannot tell you until we actually see what the units look like. You have to prove to us that you cover 80% of the units you want credit for in our courses. So you have to apply, you have to be accepted, so you'd have to take sort of that risk at the time. It's a lot of work for us if that we aren't allowed to do until you've actually applied.
Thank you. Another question here about English requirements. What are there basic English requirements or standards to be able to complete this course?
Mm-hmm. Is this person asking, are they, and have they done their degree, if they've done their degree outside of Australia where English is not the native tongue to that country?
Yes, that seems to be the angle.
They will need to have an equivalent of 7.5 in IELTS all over. So therefore they have needed to have completed that for admission.
Marion, a question for you. Marion, I have done my first prac and passed, but due to my logistics, as I live 4.5 hours away from Canberra, I couldn't continue with a university in Canberra. Is it possible that you will have RPL?
We'd have to look at, it is possible. We'd have to look at the number of days that were completed and how long ago it was. Yeah, we just have to look into that, but it is possible.
Okay, so any questions regarding professional experience, please direct them to Marion. We have another question here about subjects. In the Master of Teaching, can I pick up some core subjects, I assume that to mean from Wesley Institute, to teach a second major such as maths?
You can't pick them up from Wesley Institute. We don't offer maths as an undergrad degree. You would need to do that outside at another recognised university institution. And you would need 4 units of maths, 2 in first year and 2 in second year.
If the students have done some research on falling short by 1 unit, for example, in their undergraduate degree, it might be worth having a look at Open University Australia. We find that they're very good, particularly say in the English area. You might be short on classic literature, and they have a couple of really great units there.
Question for Marion. Is it possible, or at what point would I be able to start casual teaching? After first prac or during either semester, or only after the course completion?
After the second professional experience.
Fantastic, there you go, after the second professional experience. We have another question here. Do you have biblical studies units for teaching scripture or religious studies?
I was just going to mention that one of the foundational units is called Teaching Biblical Studies, and that would help people who might have a homeroom, a scripture class, a devotional time, a Christian studies class, or a scripture class in the state schools, for example.
But 1 unit alone will not equip you it will not qualify you or give you any sort of certificate. Our Master of Arts Religious Education and the Grad Cert and the Grad Dip in that give you at least a Grad Cert and a Grad Dip, and that is specifically designed for those who teach in those specific areas.
Thank you, Will and Julie. Another question here. how would you apply, or what is the process for cross-institutional studies?
The process is you would need to find the courses that you would like to do as cross-institutional studies. You would then apply. The university will then ask you to get a letter filled in from Wesley Institute. It's done at the registrar's office, and then you just become, so that you can get fee help on those particular units. And we need to, I would check the units that you're about to do to make sure they comply with what you need for your teaching method.
Thank you, Julie. A question for Marion. Is the professional experience linked to another unit, or is it a separate unit?
I'm happy to answer that question. It's a separate unit.
Fantastic. Thank you, Julie. Just a question about previous studies. I'll just try and provide some context, I think, where this question is coming from. I'm trying to apply for a course at Wesley Institute, and I'm trying to get some credit, or just trying to show my credentials. Doesn't matter if the degree is from 15 years ago. I suppose that they graduated 15 years ago.
No, it doesn't matter. No, that's fine.
Fantastic. Another question here regarding qualifications. I'm interested in teaching at primary schools. What, if any, links exist with this course and being able to teach in primary schools? Does Wesley Institute offer primary teaching qualifications?
Yes, we do. We offer a Master of Teaching Primary. And they can find all about that on the website. It's currently, but this is specific, this particular intake is only for the Grad Dip Ed secondary.
And so the MTeach Primary would start with the course introduction on campus on the 2nd of February.
Correct.
Fantastic, thank you. Folks, we just have another 10 minutes on question time, so we're just going to answer a few more questions and then we'll have to end it there. There's a question here about fees. If a person does not qualify for government financial aid, what are the payment options for me, and is payment due in full before starting?
I can't answer all those questions about fees, but they would need to inquire with the fee department or with our registrar when they're enrolling. I think that you can organise with our fee department to pay in different at different times in different places. They're flexible, but they set up a fee payment system for you.
Question here about someone who's currently doing a postdoc. If I'm currently enrolled in a postdoc research degree, can I enroll in the Dip Ed while I finish my postgrad degree, i.e. concurrent enrollment while I finish up?
Certainly, if we don't know about it. I mean, if it's not in the same university. I think there's only a certain amount you're supposed to do if you're, if you're finishing off something and you've got your undergrad degree, yes, we can enrol you.
And it's just a matter of counting that cost that we talked about earlier, that
exactly.
You're applying to do a tertiary course, and that takes commitment and effort and time. So don't think of it as a little hobby added on that can kind of be shuffled sideways. It's important to see this is a professional course, and we want people to be committed to it as well.
We have a question here about the course length. Why is the Masters 16 units but the Dip Ed 11? What makes the Masters longer?
Because there has been, it's coming from the government, the changes, and the Master of Teaching has to have 16 units, and you'll find that throughout Australia now.
Thank you, Julie. Another question here about specialisation areas. If I get a qualification in English, or I suppose in any subject, would I be able to be a casual teacher for other subjects?
Oh, yes. Once you have a casual teaching number, you are employed as a casual for the day at a school, and you could be teaching anything.
It might be worth adding here, Julie, too, that some people will home in on one major method for their graduate diploma, and they might come out, say, as a business studies teacher, for example, or a science teacher, but they may have other undergraduate units that whilst they might not do a minor method, they can talk about that in their employment application, and I'm sure principals appreciate the flexibility where they can say, look, you've had some experience with, say, maths, I'd feel comfortable asking you, would you do a year 7 or a year 8 maths? Or a business studies teacher, you might say, has some experience in legal, and so therefore maybe you could take year 11 legal studies. So there's flexibility always in employment. And some of the things will be hobbies. You may have done a Duke of Edinburgh. Anything you can bring to the table in addition to the graduate diploma is helpful to a school.
Yes, schools really like it if you are flexible, and you're more likely to get more casual teaching work the more flexible you are willing to be.
Another question here is perhaps for Marion regarding employment, but feel free, Will and Julie. Can I enter I assume it's the Department of Education, can I enter the graduate teacher program as soon as I complete my first semester in the grad dip?
You can actually start teaching once you have your number from the Department of Education and they have employed you. Usually it will be after your second prac. You may not have completely finished your grad dip ed, but you need to. They probably will not get to allocate you your number until after your second prac.
And for New South Wales students, we have the Department of Education and Communities come on campus to talk about their graduate recruitment program, both for Western Sydney as well as going across the Blue Mountains to beyond the line. So Marion would talk more about that in terms of professional experience. So we've had a student go out far west as part of that DEC program.
Thank you, Will. Just a student wanting to receive clarification, and Will, this is probably a question for you. Could you please clarify the method of receiving the course material? Will all materials be online, or will there be requirements to purchase textbooks to complete the units?
Yeah, great. Good question. Look, the textbooks we keep to a minimum, so they're compulsory. You must have those, and I know some of you will think from your undergraduate degrees that you got by without. But we find students get in a big mess with us if they don't have their textbook. So that's compulsory. But everything else is supplied. So you would have seen in the unit structures when I went through a little earlier, all the PDFs across the weeks. So that means that your assessment 1, all the PDF readings are provided. And inside the study guide itself are all the links to, for example, the Board of Studies, to global websites that are relevant to your subject area. So it's quite interactive in that way, and you aren't required to do compulsory additional research of material. When you get to assessment 2 and 3, then it's good to do more searching for resources to support your program, your lessons, and we give you the links for those on that education homepage. So it's very, very good in that way that once you have your textbook, you can essentially say that all the other readings are provided.
Thank you. And they are provided in PDF format, scanned for you, so you have access to them online, and you can print them off if you like, and highlight them if you prefer that method of reading as well. Another question here, sort of answered by Will earlier, but perhaps for those who missed out, where can I study units for minor qualifications? Do I have to enroll in another bachelor course just to get 4 math subjects?
No, you can do that as a non-award student. You can enrol in, especially in online courses. You can just enrol in those. Sydney University offers summer courses where you can enrol. So there are plenty of opportunities. You don't have to enrol actually in the degree. It may be cheaper that way, I'm not sure, because no fee help is offered in that situation, or HECS. You have to foot the bill for that.
Thank you. Question again just about perhaps English capabilities. This student is just asking, do I need to sit for an English test before I can apply for this course? And I guess a follow-up question for that would be, what sort of score, or what would be an acceptable level for me to be able to get into this course?
We expect an IELTS if you haven't done your undergrad degree in Australia. So yes, it would be good to do. It'd be good to talk to us about it first.
Or
Maybe
if your undergraduate degree was done in another language.
And additionally, if the question comes from someone in Australia who's just concerned about their level of English grammar and writing, then yes, it's worth attending to that, because we do talk about that and look at that in the course introduction. And hence the study skills workshops for some students who are rather borderline in terms of their spelling, writing and grammar.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. For all those who are listening in, we have come to the end of our webinar. We do apologise. The question time is now over. However, please don't let that stop you from investigating further. As you can see on the slide, if you've got a question, please contact Cameron. He's our lovely student recruitment coordinator, and his number is there, 0298198810. If you have any questions regarding just specific items that might be related just to you, please feel free to email them through to him, and he will either try and get back to you himself, or he will forward them on to us, where we can try and answer as best as we can. But other than that, that is the end of tonight's webinar. We do thank you for joining us. Please head on over to the website, wi.edu.au, to find out more information about our course. But also, please contact Cameron on 98198810 during office hours to find out more about our course. Thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed your time. God bless. Take care.